All right, SmackDown was great this week, but it's not great every week. And people will hit us up and they'll say, Robbie, Jared, I don't want to watch these shows to listen to your podcast. Can you just fill us in on what happened? And the answer is yes. Every Tuesday, we'll fill you in on what happens on SmackDown. And you can change the channel over to MTV at 9 p.m. every Tuesday to watch the epic 30th season of The Challenge. 30 of the shadiest characters are fighting over the biggest prize in Challenge history, $1 million. All new Tuesdays at 9, only on MTV. And you gotta understand, The Challenge is a legendary show. It is older than I am. You can't miss The Challenge. SmackDown debuted in, 2001? Not older than I am. You can miss SmackDown. Me and Jared are going to fill you in every week. We'll tell you what happened. We won't fill you in on the shitty stuff. The Challenge is 100% awesome content every episode. All your favorite characters there. CT, losing his mind as always. Check it out. The Challenge, Tuesdays at 9. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of From the Top Rope. I am your host, Robbie Fox. With me is my tag team partner, Jared Carrabis. We got a really fun show this week. Before we get into it, I just want to plug our iTunes. You got to rate, you got to review, you got to subscribe, you got to download, you got to do all that stuff we tell you every week. You're probably tired of hearing it, but I know there's some of you that haven't done it. A lot of you probably. So leave a rating, leave a review. Send us on Twitter your funny reviews for the podcast. Make sure they're 5 stars or else we won't retweet them. But we will retweet them if they're funny. We were doing that in the beginning. It was fun. We'll get back to it. Of course, you could check us out on Podcast One. We're on Twitter and Instagram at From the Top. We left the rope out. Leaved? Something like that.
Left.
It's early in the morning. It's early in the morning. All right, we're gonna give me a break. How are you, Jared?
I'm doing well, Robbie. How are you?
I'm great. Let's get right into it because we have a big interview later with Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks, and that interview went pretty long. We usually tell our guests, we could do 20, 30 minutes. A lot of them go longer because it's just fun to talk about wrestling. We love talking about wrestling. So that interview went long. We got to get right into the news. Talking Smack is back. Did you see this, Jared?
I didn't see that Talking Smack is back. This is the first I'm learning of this. I'm pretty excited to hear this, actually, because I think maybe what happened was...
Wait. Don't get too excited.
What?
Talking Smack is back in the form of a 2-minute Twitter video on Daniel Bryan's Twitter. They're doing Daniel Bryan and Renee Young are now doing a bootleg version of Talking Smack on Twitter after every SmackDown. They're planning on doing it. Last night was the first one. It was very funny, where Daniel Bryan took out a paternity test and revealed that he is actually Chad Gable's dad. Despite them being 5 years apart, he is Chad Gable's dad. They're running a pirate ship version because WWE will not run with Talking Smack, and they still want to do it.
I mean, good for them for doing that, though, because didn't they originally, when they pulled the plug on Talking Smack, say that they were still going to do it after pay-per-views, and then they did it after Battleground, and we were talking about how great Kevin Owens was on it?
Yep.
If you're Vince, and, we can have several conversations about, whether or not he's out of touch. But how can you watch Talking Smack?
That's actually what Chad Gable called it on the bootleg when he said smacking talk.
How can you watch that and be like, yeah, this is actually bad for the product? And I mean, I could understand, and this is one of the things we were talking about before about how it could potentially be bad for some characters, like Sasha Banks, for example.
But then
when
just
she
don't
went
put
on
them
the
on.
Raw version.
There's enough people that you don't have to put those people on then. Just put on the good people. Put on Kevin Owens and The Miz every show.
Yes, agreed. Because when Kevin Owens is on it, there's infinity entertainment value. So I'm glad that they're going to do some sort of extension of it.
I got so many tweets after SmackDown last night of people being like, that was fucking awesome. I wish we had a Talking Smack to watch right now. And it is. It was like, man, that was an awesome show. Maybe the TV show of the year. And there's just, all right, it's over. Instead of like, all right, a big fallout. You watch a sporting event. There will be a post-game show if it's a big one. So I hope.
Do you remember after WrestleMania 30 when they tried to do like legit?
They tried to do a press
type
conference, yeah.
Press conferences, yeah.
People didn't like him. People didn't like him. It was a little awkward. I love the effort. I think they should almost do that with characters like Sam Roberts and Peter Rosenberg and us. I'm just saying, get people that understand that this is going to be a kayfabe press conference, but also ask questions that blur the line a little bit. I think it could be very successful if it's not so corny. I also think like they should do a press conference before WrestleMania and just one of the matches on the card. WrestleMania has
it was just
14
weird
matches.
because they had like the
Just have
Shield at
one
the
breakout in a
time.
brawl. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah, like the Shield at the time, their characters were the ones that just came out of the crowd, and then you basically had them like sitting at a fucking table like they're Kevin Durant and
Yeah.
like Steph Curry with like the water bottles, and it was weird. It didn't fit.
And wasn't Dean the one that was just like he had his head in the table? He's like, I'm fucking tired from that match. It was like a 2-minute squash match against the Outlaws and Kane.
Yep.
Anyway, other big thing that happened pretty much right after we recorded last week. So this is more last week than this week, but we didn't touch on it. Shane McMahon was in a helicopter that went down in the middle of the ocean, and he's fine. He's just completely okay. No scratches, not a bruise on him. We have some inside sources actually that have told us he got on a helicopter like 10 minutes after that one crashed.
You fucking kidding?
Yeah, I'm dead serious, and this is like 100% confirmed. Shane, got rescued out of the middle of the ocean and then was like, I still got to get my car. I was on a helicopter to get my car. I got to go to my son's thing. And got on a helicopter right away. He didn't give a shit. No fear in that guy at all.
Bananas. That's that McMahon blood in him.
It really is. And if you watch I posted it on the blog. It's like a week old now, but the clip of him being interviewed, a lot of people I think just thought he was a regular dude. And they're like, oh my God, are you okay? He's like, yes. It's just a news report. And then one person goes, are you Vince McMahon's son? And he goes, yes. And then she was like, oh, okay. G1 update. New Japan G1 update. Tanahashi, Zack Sabre Jr., and Naito all tied with 6 points in Block A, and Okada and Omega both tied with 6 points in Block B. It has been fucking awesome so far. Kenny versus Suzuki was awesome. Okada and Elgin was an awesome main event. My favorite match of the tournament so far was probably Ibushi versus Ishii. Ibushi's on a whole new level right now, and he's got 2 losses in the tournament. I'm hoping that we're still looking at Kenny Omega versus Kota Ibushi in the final. That's the way the whole thing has been built, especially because he has to face, like, Omega and Okada have to meet in the regular tournament. They're in the same block. So, Kenny is undefeated. Ibushi has 2 losses. This is not how you get to the final, but maybe they'll do some kind of late tournament comeback story. I've been loving it. Kenny Omega versus Toru Yano 2 days ago, I think it was, 3 days ago. Hysterical comedy match. It's like my favorite reason Yano's in the tournament every year is he provides these ridiculous matches where he's actually, he didn't go over Omega, but he's able to go over Tanahashi and Okada and in convincing fashion because he just cheats to win. I've been really slacking on sending Jared the G1 clips I want him to watch.
You're blowing it.
I am blowing it. You're gonna have like a binge watch one day, maybe one of these days where you move into New York. You're just gonna have to sit in your apartment and just go on a 10-hour binge of all the G1 you
Cat's
missed.
out of the bag. I'm literally going to have nothing else to do. I'm just going to be in New York City in my new apartment, and I'm just going to be sitting there with nothing else to do besides watch New Japan Pro Wrestling.
It doesn't sound bad to me.
No.
Raw and SmackDown this week, both good shows. SmackDown obviously better than Raw, but that doesn't mean to demean Raw. Raw was a really fun show. I thought the whole show was very watchable. It opened with the most important segment of the night. The SummerSlam main event has been set. It is officially the Fatal 4-Way. Brock Lesnar will defend his Universal Championship against Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, and Roman Reigns. This match is worth the price of admission alone for me in Brooklyn. We've been, sucking its dick since it was rumored. The segment involved my favorite thing in wrestling, a locker room clearing brawl where everyone has to separate these guys. Braun Strowman, my other favorite thing in wrestling, throwing people into the moon. These security guards were coming out, and he was just one by one grabbing them and throwing them 10 feet over the top rope onto the floor. The one that took the bump by the entrance ramp, give that guy a job. He needs to be like a permanent security guy. He should be a permanent security guy.
He's got to be like a local indie wrestler or something to take a bump like that. Yeah,
but it's like if you're going to hire James Ellsworth because people think he looks funny, hire that guy and have him be the security guy that breaks up a bunch of fights, gets thrown over the top rope, and then maybe one day he fights back and he's a wrestler. Do the old Brad Maddox, referee gets involved and then he's a wrestler. That was kind of a failure. Yeah. Brad Maddox had a very successful video that came out after his career, though. So What were your? Do you have any thoughts on this SummerSlam main event being set and this segment in general?
Yeah, I thought Kurt Angle did his best to not I love Kurt Angle. I really do. By the way, did you watch that WWE 24 special on him?
Yep.
Okay, so I thought that was really well done. Made me reappreciate Kurt Angle because,
Yeah.
For Kurt Angle, I obviously loved him when he was here originally. Then he comes back and we mock him week to week now. He's the one that sort of orchestrated the whole thing, and he more or less did a great job with setting up the tone of the magnitude of the match. Like he sold the fact that this is a big fucking deal.
He was good,
and
in
it
this
should
segment.
be because, yeah, it was good. And I think for the most part, the build to this particular match is going to be very, very interesting to see how they do it and who they build as being the strongest. I mean, because you can't really all these guys are unpinnable, virtually unpinnable. So that's the appeal of this match, and who's going to win. But who's also going to be built up as the strongest going into this one?
My hope is that when the match actually takes place in Brooklyn SummerSlam, they destroy everything. I want, if there's like 3 announcer tables at ringside, I want them all being destroyed in this match. I want Roman to spear someone through the barricade, maybe on like all 4 corners. I want the stage to be ruined. I want whatever gimmicks they have set up. Maybe you throw a palm tree at SummerSlam. Maybe you throw like a fake subway. It's Brooklyn. I don't give a shit. I want everything wrecked. You remember that the CM Punk versus Chris
Hero?
Yeah, where they destroyed the barn. I want the Barclays Center to be closed down for renovations after this match.
Yeah.
Like this should be like a superhero match. Batman you're not a movie guy. In like all of these superhero movies, the Avengers, they fight these fucking aliens, and New York is just toast after the movie. Superman, Man of Steel versus Zod. Metropolis, toast. It's gone. Just no buildings, no nothing. I want to be injured in the crowd. I want to be in the last seat in the building. I want like life-threatening injuries.
Don't you think that they made a mistake by doing the ring collapse recently? What was that? Big Show
and Braun.
Who? Okay, yeah. Don't you think that they made a mistake by doing that recently? Because they haven't done it in like a few years. They definitely could have pulled that out in this match.
They could have. I don't think they were thinking that far ahead. As of pretty recently, that was before Braun got hurt the first time too. Right. I'm pretty sure the SummerSlam main event was actually going to be Roman and Brock, just a one-on-one. Yeah. And then Brock apparently loved his match with Samoa Joe and was like, I would like to work with this guy again. And they were like, well, we were going to put you with Roman. Roman has been working with Braun. Oh, shit. Let's just put all the big fucking Hoss guys in one match. So
right.
I can't wait.
Did Brock Lesnar more or less confirm that he's going back to the UFC?
It's looking very likely that he's not going to renew his WWE contract and go back to the UFC. The rumor right now is that he's going back in November for the Madison Square Garden show. That is impossible. I don't know how that rumor spread. It must have spread among casual fans or something. He got suspended, and that suspension kicks in July. He retired in February, 6 months afterwards. When you retire, your suspension freezes. So if he were to unretire now, he would have to serve that extra 6 months. November is impossible. New Year's Eve, they always put together a big show, or December 30th, one of the two. And that is possible. If Jon Jones wins against Daniel Cormier this Saturday, I think the fight to make is Jon Jones versus Brock Lesnar at heavyweight. It would be a gigantic MMA fight. But yeah, I think Lesnar will absolutely fight in the UFC again. I don't know if it'll be before or after his contract expires. If you remember, he signed a 3-year deal at WrestleMania 31. So he will be at this WrestleMania. But I believe it'll be his last one.
Don't you think that Vince has become more lenient with UFC? Because originally he was saying it's barbaric, which is hilarious to hear from Vince McMahon.
Yep.
But he's calling the UFC barbaric. And now I think it's more along the lines of they've already let Brock Lesnar perform or fight in the UFC while under contract with the WWE. So if they really thought it was best for business to let him do both, then wouldn't Brock be interested in doing both? Like if he wanted to return to fight Jon Jones and he could just come back and
Brock has a deep love of MMA, and he's been training MMA for a long time. Like when he takes these long breaks off WWE, he's training MMA. And I think he
I
wants to
think
do
he'll go
both.
back, but I think he'll stay.
I think it was a great look for the WWE when he fought at UFC 200 and beat Mark Hunt. They were really advertising that right up until the point where, he tested positive for steroids. And it was like, all right, well, we can't advertise that. But when he beat, they were like, congratulations to Brock Lesnar. He is a champion in all combat sports, pro wrestling and MMA. And it's like, yes, that is exactly how he should be marketed. Paul Heyman was the first one to really do it and talk about his NCAA Division I title, his UFC title, his, he played in the NFL. Like, he should be marketed as this guy that is almost above WWE. And I think he plays best when he's like a heel, where he's like, I'm better than this. I don't need this. I could be in UFC tomorrow.
But the only thing that's annoying about that is that that's probably how he actually feels in real life.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Which is why I think, like you had the crowd turning on him at WrestleMania 20 with Goldberg, was because that was basically his attitude. It's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about this match. It kind of like pissed on the tradition of WrestleMania being like, yeah, this is my last match. I'm leaving after this anyway. I don't give a fuck how the match comes across. I don't care about the finish, and I'm just leaving. So
Yeah.
as long as he keeps that attitude, but still actually does respect and care about the business, I'd love to have Brock Lesnar back.
Me too. It's just, you know what is annoying is that they have butchered Brock Lesnar's second run since having him end the streak. Everyone is talking about these dream matches that they wanted to see, and they wasted so much time with Brock Lesnar on The Undertaker. Like, the Undertaker feud went way too long. It shouldn't have gone after WrestleMania. They did the SummerSlam match, which was fucking awesome until the finish, and then everyone was like, all right, that was horrible. They kept it going. They did a match at Hell in a Cell, which I thought was really good too, but it was just unnecessary. And then they wasted so much time of his on Cena. Nobody wanted to see Cena again. The first time was good enough. Triple H was like, that feud went on forever. They had Triple H go over at WrestleMania.
I thought that second Cena match was very entertaining because he basically squashed Cena, and we've never seen that.
Oh
before.
yeah. Yeah, that one too. That
I'm
was
down to
entertaining.
see something that I've never seen before.
I agree with that. That's my mistake. I just mean like the Night of Champions after that, then the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble matches, maybe my favorite triple threat of all time, well, my second favorite. But it's just, people wanted to see him versus Daniel Bryan. They were never able to make that happen. People wanted to see him versus Cesaro. That was like my number one. I want to see him versus Kevin Owens. I want to see him versus AJ Styles. There's so many wrestlers on the roster that I would much rather see him face. But, I mean, what are you going to do unless you rush dates? Maybe this WrestleMania. Like, I don't want to see him against anyone he's ever faced at WrestleMania this year. Give us, if it's his last match, give us a fresh matchup. Bray and Finn are now feuding because Finn Balor had his no disqualification match with the Drifter, which I thought was really good. I don't love that Finn is like resorting to this. I think he's above this, but it was a good match. The sympathy is completely on Finn right now from the fans' point of view. Bray interrupted, hit him with the Sister Abigail. This looks like it's a SummerSlam match. We'll have the Eater of Worlds versus the Demon King. It'll be a hokey pokey, spooky. Maybe Bray Wyatt will break out his X stick from WrestleMania. I don't care.
You don't care? I feel like you're down on Bray Wyatt.
I kind of am, but it's just like I could see where this is going. They had Finn, his last SummerSlam match, his first pay-per-view match was against Seth Rollins, and it was one of the worst feuds I've ever seen in my 16 years of watching professional wrestling
because you're down on Seth Rollins.
But Seth Rollins was horrendous in that feud, and Finn Balor wasn't much better, and I'm a huge Finn Balor guy. Seth was he just repeated over and over again, Demon King, Demon King. And I was like, holy shit. He must have said that 127 times. The show where we would have cut-ins to him walking around arenas being like, where's the Demon King? Have you seen him? And then they did the Sting thing with the multiple Demon Kings in the arena. Oh, yeah. Dreadful. And when you combine that with like Bray Wyatt's feud at WrestleMania, that just seems like a concoction of the worst thing I could ever imagine in life.
So I'm going to take a positive spin on this because you're being a Nancy negative today. I am excited for this feud. I am, because I think that if you and this isn't a problem, but what the WWE has today is the polar opposite of what they used to have in the 90s, where they had a bunch of supernatural characters. And I think that those characters, if it's not watered down and there's too many of them, they're very entertaining. And to have them collide at one of the major four pay-per-views, I think that something special can come out of that, especially in the build up to it. And and we haven't seen the Demon King character since last year, right?
Yep.
Right. So it's been a full year. So that's why, when he first sort of came up to the main roster, I was concerned of whether or not they were going to beat that into the ground because
Me too.
it's a spectacle, and
I thought it was going to be every pay-per-view, which would have been a real big mistake.
Yeah, right. So it's been a year, and if there's going to be anyone right now on the Raw roster who could potentially bring that out in him, it would be Bray Wyatt. So I am looking forward to this. And maybe not for like the technical wrestling aspect of it, but more so for the build and what sort of how they can make it special, I suppose.
I think the entrances will be awesome. The two live entrances back to back. Especially I really enjoy the if you want to call it the Demon King version of Finn Balor when it's not supernatural. I don't think he should be a supernatural character. I think the demon should be like, if you pull this out of him, he puts on war paint, and like this war paint helps him. Like more like Braveheart wasn't supernatural, but when he puts on the paint, it's like, oh shit, Braveheart's got the fucking paint on. So it's like,
but
he was never supernatural in NXT, and I feel like when he was brought up to the main roster, Vince kind of thought he was. And the SummerSlam build was like him in every area of the arena at once and him appearing out of thin air. And it's like, that's just not what Finn Balor is.
Yeah.
So
I guess, but
I'm not saying this will be horrible. I'm just saying I'm not super looking forward to it. I think they will have cool entrances at SummerSlam. Hopefully they put on a good match. I think they're both good workers.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. There's a little positivity out of you.
There it is.
I like it.
Speaking of negativity, Enzo and Cass had a match. They had a squash match once again on Raw, where
Enzo, give me a fucking break.
Enzo got like offense for the first 2 seconds of the match. He tried to put a sleeper hold on Big Cass. He did not get that sleeper hold, and then Big Cass beat the ever-living fuck out of him for the next 5 minutes. Quickly disposed of him. Enzo took great bumps, positive spin. Enzo looked like a dead guy for sure. He looked like a guy that could never beat Big Cass in a match ever again. He looked like a guy that would never even stand toe-to-toe with him. He looked like a guy who should get a restraining order against Big Cass.
Mm-hmm.
My issue, this doesn't help Big Cass, and this does not help Enzo. No more sympathy has been put on Enzo because of this match, and no more heat has been put on Cass because of this match. The Big Show runs out for the save after the match. I guess it was the save. I don't know. He was dead already.
He's already dead.
Big Show comes out, and this was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. Cass grabs Enzo by the neck, and before Big Show gets in, he's like, "I'll do it. Don't get in this ring. I'll do it." Like, is he threatening to snap his neck in the middle of the ring?
He's threatening to kill someone.
That would be dark for this PG television program, Monday Night Raw.
I haven't seen someone get arrested on Monday Night Raw since probably Stone Cold Steve Austin.
They did it with Vince, or they did it with Vince and
right.
Stephanie for something.
Yes.
I don't even remember what the fuck
I do recall,
did.
Yeah.
Remember they released a
that?
T-shirt of a mugshot, like a Vince mugshot, and it was horrible.
Yes.
It was a horrible shirt.
Yeah.
Funny picture, but bad shirt. That was something weird. Yeah. Oh, he laid his hands on cops, or I don't remember what the fuck it was. But
yeah, something weird like
that. Seth Rollins threatened
but,
to kill Edge on the cutting edge when he was Mr. Money in the Bank.
Oh,
he threatened to curb stomp him into the briefcase, and he's like, "This will end his life."
He has the neck problems.
Yeah.
Yep. I do remember that. And then also the Undertaker basically killed Paul Bearer by dropping him in a glass box of cement.
Oh yeah. What are they?
Do you remember that?
I'm very fascinated with the inner workings of that stunt. The special effects guy was awesome. Same thing with Buried Alive matches. We're gonna have to. That's like a top 5 dream guest for the podcast. Is the guy whoever invented the Buried Alive mechanism, where you can like get thrown into the ground but still be alive.
Yeah, I want to know. Do I want to know though?
I want to know.
There's got to be a trap door.
Maybe we'll have you cover your ears during that segment, but I want to know.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. But with the whole Enzo and Cass thing, like you said, no one really benefits from this anymore. And I think it was when it originally happened, we were talking about how Vince or whomever makes the decisions was talking about how from now on we're going to worry about moments. We're not going to worry about down the line. And that's really, really, really showing up in this feud. Like the fact that they went for the moment in the split up, but have since booked the matches and the storyline to just be very, I don't want to say underwhelming, but disappointing. Like I feel like they could have
Yep.
done much more with the feud after the breakup. I feel like that's sort of fallen flat. And then now it's like you have this squash match on Raw, and so now it's like Big Cass is building up to a SummerSlam match with the Big Show, not Enzo. And I think what we
I know
sort of
is the
suggested was,
payoff like it's a close match between the two big men and Enzo runs in or something. Like, don't do that, man.
yeah, I would much rather have a street fight at SummerSlam where Enzo just gets his revenge and gets a pinfall, but it's because he used every weapon available to him.
Yep.
Like that would make sense. And Big Cass can certainly endure that loss. Like it's not gonna damage his credibility or his build. So that would have been how I would have done it. But now I guess we're getting Big Cass versus Big Show at SummerSlam.
Yeah, it looks that way. I'm not too upset about it because we do have some good SummerSlam matches coming up. First one, Bayley will meet Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam for the Raw Women's title. These two have been feuding on and off. The matches have been good. The finishes have been weird. Not all the matches have been good. The Extreme Rules kendo stick on a pole match, not good. But I think they're going to pull out something special for SummerSlam. I just wanted to quickly touch on it because she earned her shot at the title. I think this isn't going to be a one-on-one, though. I think Sasha will get added to the match somehow, and if she isn't, I think Sasha will turn heel at SummerSlam.
I think that she should because her face character has been awkward is an unfair word to use. It just seems out of place.
Yeah.
Like Sasha Banks is not her character is not supposed to be a face, and she also pulls off being a face quite poorly because you can't be a likable snobby bitch. Like you just can't do that. And like she doesn't abandon that sort of snobby like character when she's a face. So yeah, I think you're probably spot on with the heel turn being somewhere around the corner, if not SummerSlam.
And it would be a big moment. Vince loves to talk about we make moments here, and that would be a moment that people remember. Unlike Bayley's first title win and her breaking the Charlotte streak, those are very forgettable. Bayley needs a big moment.
It would definitely inject some life back into the division.
Yes, absolutely. Up next was SmackDown, show of the week, SmackDown of the year. This top to bottom was awesome. It began with a segment with AJ and Kevin Owens going back and forth, interrupted by Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's back on short notice.
Yeah.
This guy, no matter how many times he makes surprise entrances, surprise returns anywhere, he's had to make 50 of them by now. They are always awesome. He did a loop a few years ago where he was just doing house shows. Wouldn't do TV, traveled, just wanted to do house shows. He was like, I love doing house shows. I'd like to do those. I didn't know this. I didn't put a ton of research into it. He showed up at a house show. I lost my fucking mind. I was like, oh, Chris Jericho. I thought it was this surprise thing. Turns out he's been doing them all over the country. He looked like he was on a day's notice. He wrestled great in the main event, but he definitely had a little beer belly from his Fozzy tour.
Yeah.
He's got a new hair thing where he's got a band in his hair. He looks more like John Bon Jovi by the day, but he is still the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. He put AJ Styles on the list. Crowd went wild. What was his, he was like, it's the return of Jericho. Welcome back, man. That was just such a great line. I really, really enjoy Chris Jericho, and sometimes I don't.
Well,
he takes a bit to get in his groove sometimes. Like when he was doing the Rudy Tooty Booty, he was doing all that, crowd is starting to turn on him. It was like, this is fucking horrible. He doesn't have it in him. Then he does this whole feud with Kevin Owens, and I'm like, Chris Jericho not only has it in him, he got a clipboard more over than anyone on the roster.
Right. Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
and
I'm happy to have him back here.
Yeah, but your observation about how it was on a day's notice, it probably was on a day's
I
notice
guarantee you it was.
because yeah,
That was a little hint.
right. Because we have the botched finish at Battleground,
Yep.
which that's reported now, so we
It's
can say
reported.
that
Yeah.
that it
I
was.
mean, AJ Styles was supposed to win that match.
Yes, yes, and that was botched. And were you surprised at how quickly they sort of corrected it?
No, because I think the plans for SummerSlam have been made up in Vince's head, and I think he was just like, let's do this as quickly as possible. I was actually a little surprised. SmackDown had a house show on Monday, and I thought they were just going to do a house show change again. Be like, whoa, AJ is the king of house shows, or WWE live events. But
Right.
I definitely wasn't surprised they went with the title change right away.
Yeah. So it was, you have the botched finish. Kevin Owens wins back the U.S. title, and Chris Jericho. Well, because Kevin Owens was not going to grant AJ Styles the rematch,
Yeah,
and then that turns into Chris Jericho coming out, and it evolves into a triple threat match for the United States Championship between Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, and Chris Jericho. And I don't care if they're friends. I don't care if they're rivals. Whatever Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho do together is going to be gold every single time.
they
So
click.
I am
They have that
hoping
chemistry.
they do. They do. And I really, really hope that this wasn't just like a one-off appearance for Chris Jericho.
I think it was, but I think the Fozzy tour is also over now, so he could be back. I don't know. Definitely got a great response.
Being so tight with Vince, where it's just like he calls up Chris Jericho and be like, "Chris, listen, we fucked up the match. We need you to come back on Tuesday. We need you to put over AJ Styles."
Listen, it all went haywire. It was fucking AJ had his shoulder down. He wasn't supposed to have a shoulder. It was a fucking kerfuffle. All right, Chris, can you come in? Just take the pin. I owe you one, pal. I owe you one. He's like, all right, Vince. Jesus. Yeah. So we'll talk about the main event in just a second. John Cena came out and interrupted Jinder Mahal when Jinder was like, I need an opponent for SummerSlam. John Cena came out, hit the brappadoo, and he's like, you're going to face Super Cena. And just straight up said Super Cena, which I popped for. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan came out.
This is what we feared.
Yep.
This is what we feared.
Yep. Daniel Bryan, his brother-in-law, came out, though, and was like,
yes,
we'll see. You're going to face Shinsuke Nakamura next week, and the winner faces Jinder at SummerSlam. And now just think about that.
Right. But
just think about that. Hold on. Just think about that 5 years ago. If I told you 2017 at SummerSlam, John Cena will face Shinsuke Nakamura from New Japan Pro Wrestling in a match on SmackDown, and the winner will face WWE champion Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
What the fuck has happened in the past few years? It is crazy.
It is, but it's a good crazy.
Yes.
It's a good crazy.
Absolutely, it's a good crazy.
Yeah, because, I mean, for a while there, it was like, all right, John Cena and Randy Orton again.
Yep.
I mean, there was a lot of repetition. There was a lot of predictability. And I like the unpredictability of, you could literally be in three-man band, released, and then come back and be a fucking roided up WWE champion. This is the land of opportunity, indeed. Yeah. But this is so. Do you see this turning into a triple threat match? Because I don't really. So you don't.
Nope.
Okay.
I think I have SummerSlam plans set in my head already.
Okay. So did you read into anything about Baron Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura having a match on SmackDown this week? And at Battleground, there was Baron Corbin kicking Shinsuke Nakamura in the penis, and that was the finish to a pay-per-view match. But then you have Shinsuke go over Baron Corbin on SmackDown clean. That was it. So, that should really be the end of it.
And the SmackDown match was so much better than the pay-per-view match.
Yep, it was. It definitely was. And now you have Nakamura against John Cena, which is, super face versus super face to go up against the mega heel. And I don't know. I think I could foresee a situation where this turns into a triple threat match, but especially when you have the face versus face to for the number one contendership. I don't know. I feel like
it could
happen.
It could happen for sure.
Because then you also what if there's a triple threat and you have Nakamura ending his feud with or seemingly ending his feud with Baron Corbin, and then you have Shinsuke, Cena, Mahal in the main event. Nakamura wins, Baron Corbin cashes in.
That would be great, honestly.
That would make sense.
It would be really good. The way I'm looking at it, and we're not talking about Battleground, by the way, because we talked about that on Monday. We had a Battleground recap. You could go check that out. And on that recap, I said, I don't think there's anyone on the roster that you could put against Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam that the crowd wouldn't turn on the match and just not root for anyone. Shinsuke is probably the closest thing you can do because Brooklyn is that smarky crowd. Even though his main roster run so far has been underwhelming, the last time he was in Brooklyn was NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, where he won the NXT Championship. That's fresh in the Brooklyn crowd's minds, even though it was a year ago. I think Shinsuke is the one, but I don't think he's going to win this match. I think Baron Corbin is going to cost Shinsuke this match, and Cena will win. Cena will face Mahal at SummerSlam. It's tough to say what Baron Corbin will be doing at SummerSlam, but I don't think it'll be anything because I think it might be a cash-in. And
that's what I'm saying.
I think it's going to be a cash-in,
and he's out of mind.
I think the matches for SummerSlam will be John Cena versus Jinder for the championship, AJ and Shinsuke for the United States Championship. I do think they realize that's the way to go. It's going to be rushed. I don't love that. I agree. I think that's what they're going to do.
WrestleMania.
And I think they're going to do Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon.
Why?
It's a match
that would seem rushed.
It's a match that Owens has wanted, and if you're looking at the way they did AJ and Shane, it was AJ being pissed that Shane wouldn't grant him the rematch for the WWE Championship, and he put him in these like weird situations, and he was like, "Fuck this! Like you're an unfair leader." Beat the shit out of Shane, and Shane was like, "All right, let's go." Kevin Owens did not want to give AJ a title shot this week, and he was made to give a title shot. Daniel Bryan, Shane, they're both the general managers. Obviously, he's not going to challenge Daniel Bryan. He's going to challenge Shane. I think that is the match to make.
Imagine working at a company where every time you disagreed with your boss or they wouldn't give you something that you wanted, you could just challenge them to a fight and they would accept it, and it would be a socially acceptable occurrence.
So I do. I challenge my boss, Dave Portnoy, to the octagon sometimes, but he just doesn't accept. So it's like all for nothing.
So he wouldn't sign my lease, so you have to fucking fight me.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that would be sweet. We should put together a Barstool fight night. We actually tried to do that this year. It was going to be me versus Nate, Hank versus Tex, and then maybe some other people that had some conflict in the office.
Nate versus YP is the fight of the century.
Yeah, Nate versus YP is the fight to make. I take YP, minus 15,000 in that fight. That would just not even be close. Nate would have his hands in his pockets because he's an awkward little gremlin. The main event was the triple threat for the United States Championship. Awesome match. This match was gift city. Gifts going everywhere. I was gifting myself all over the place. Code breakers, fucking kicks, fucking Pele kicks, forearms, everything. AJ pinned Chris Jericho. Kevin Owens lost the title without getting pinned. Everything pretty much worked out in the end. We got a great match out of it. We got a great SmackDown out of it. So maybe the botched finish wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely lucked into a great match, a great show, and a memorable pop with Chris Jericho just coming back in the middle of a promo.
Yeah.
So, but again, I come back to, do they factor Chris Jericho into SummerSlam plans now that he's back? But is he back?
I don't think so. Maybe do him versus Baron somehow, if you want to give Baron something to do.
I guess, but I would totally, if Baron Corbin's going to cash in at SummerSlam, I'd rather just not have him on the card at all.
Does that make it too obvious?
Not if he's been feuding with Shinsuke and he has a match.
True.
That wasn't it's not like a legit feud. It's like, it's an opportunity. So I'm like, he can go with the Braun Strowman, I'm not finished with you yet. He can sort of move into that.
He can.
Because their feud's not done. It's just, especially because he's
lost. Not finished with
him
yet.
He lost on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Right.
Cream of the crop this week before our interview with Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks. In honor of that interview, we're doing best tag team. Favorite tag team, Jared. Favorite tag team of all time. Who do you got for me?
Favorite tag team of all time is Kane and X-Pac. Kane and X-Pac is my favorite tag team of all time because... Obviously, we talked about who my favorite wrestler of all time is. It's Kane. And X-Pac, I was a big DX fan. And this storyline borderline ruined my childhood because like I told you, like I was Kane. Like I thought I was Kane. So X-Pac is the first person to ever humanize Kane. He got him to talk without
Yep.
the voice box. Was sort of really his first face turn, and then you mix in the Tori Wilson angle and X-Pac's fucking Kane's girlfriend, and for a second we thought that Kane was going to join DX, which would have been unbelievable
And there was
because
that leaked like promo image of him in the green gear. You ever see that?
yes,
So cool. It was so
yep,
cool.
yep, and they had him say "suck it" one time, which was great. So yeah, but then when he turned on Kane, I thought that feud was great afterwards. So they had the whole storyline of like, how can I sort of humanize this monster? Can I trust him? Can we work together? And then when they sort of clicked, it was like this happy moment. It was great. I thought the whole build, the whole storyline with them together, post breakup, everything was it was vintage Attitude Era wrestling.
Kane doesn't get enough credit for being one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. And I really
Yeah,
mean that. Like, the original, Kane Undertaker, obviously, the Brothers of Destruction. Then you got Kane
yep.
and Xbox, which were great. Kane and RVD is one of my favorite tag
Kane
teams
and
of all time.
Mankind.
Kane and Mankind was awesome. Kane and Daniel Bryan was awesome. Kane and Big
Yeah.
Show was even awesome. Like,
Yeah.
Kane is a tag team wrestler through and through, and he doesn't get enough credit for that. My favorite tag team of all time, kind of similar to yours in the sense that X-Pac, DX, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels. I grew up on the PG version of DX that gets shit on time and time again, where people are like, "Oh, that DX was horrible. They really played to the kids and this and that." Well, guess what? I was a fucking kid. I was their main audience, and I loved them. Me and my friend in third grade, me and my friend, shout out Chris, Triple H and Shawn Michaels for Halloween. We had the fucking tights made. We had the wigs. I cut my brand new DX reunion tour shirt like Shawn Michaels did with like the banner hanging around your neck. I could not get enough of DX. I bought every single 2-pack action figure they ever came out with for those DX because I was like, Shawn's got new tights in this one. Shawn's got new tights in this one. Everything DX I had to have. I would write DX on my notebooks in school to the point where the teachers were like, all right, you fucking weirdo, you got to stop. Got in trouble, 4th grade, Miss Worth told her to suck it. That's a whole thing. Got in trouble with my mom when they released their Vince Loves and then it had a rooster on it shirt. I said,
Yep.
Mom, can I get this shirt? And she said, what does it mean? And I said, it says Vince loves cock. And I did not understand that cock meant penis. I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a chicken. I thought it was like, he's a chicken. That's not what it meant. I was like, Mom, can I
No.
get a shirt that says Vince loves cock? She's like, get the fuck out of here. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, my favorite tag team of all time. One of my favorite comedy segments in the history of wrestling came when it was Cyber.
He likes big ones. He likes little ones.
What was it? Cyber Monday? Cyber Tuesday? Some
You're talking
fucking
about the one where
pay-per-view.
Triple H talks about all the dicks that Vince likes.
No. I'm talking
That was a
about
great one, too.
that is a great one. I'm talking about the classic Stan segment where he's like, Shawn Michaels is freaking out and Triple H is like, dude, chill. He's like, some random guy backstage. He says, what's your name? I guess it's Stan. And Shawn super kicks the ever living
His
fuck out of him.
fucking
Papers go
goes
flying. And he goes, see, I just kicked Stan. Fun fact, Stan, Ty Dillinger.
Really?
Yep. That was Ty
Wow.
Dillinger when he was back in developmental in 2006.
I gotta
So
go back and look at that.
yeah, and that was my favorite tag team of all time, and it really ties into this interview because Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, played DX when they were feuding with the Miz and Morrison. Miz and Morrison had a fake DX come out so they could beat the shit out of him, and it was the Young Bucks. So this was a really fun interview. Enjoy it. There's some revelations. We talk about gear I've designed for him. We talk about wrestling in general. We talk about the Elite and Kenny Omega and their inspirations. It's a fun one. Enjoy. All right, joining us now is one half of the greatest tag team on earth, probably one of the greatest of all time already, and they're still going. It is Matt Jackson, one half of the Young Bucks. Matt, what's going on?
Man, I'll take it. What an intro. One of the greatest of all time, I think you said. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
I'm humbled. I'm blushing out here. You can't see me, but I'm blushing.
That's awesome. I'm happy that I've turned you into the blush face emoji. I think many people are really recognizing you guys as one of the greatest tag teams of all time, especially this year. I keep seeing that thrown around. That I don't think that's me hyping you guys up. That's becoming people's thoughts.
I think that if you just do something for a really long time and everybody else just quits, then you're just automatically considered the greatest. Like, well, the Bucks have been doing this longer than anybody else. They have pretty good match. Yeah, they're the greatest. No,
yeah.
I think it's cool. I think and everybody throws that around. I mean, it's so flattering to us because that was our goal. Like when we started doing this thing so many years ago now, we just wanted to. At first, it was like we want to be the best tag team in California, and then once we started getting that label, we were like, wow, that's really cool. In California, well, let's expand this, like let's be the greatest tag team in the U.S. And then people started talking about that. Let's be the greatest in Japan or all over the world. Like, so it's like been this ongoing goal of ours for people to at least like consider us or at least put us in the conversation. So every time I hear that, honestly, it feels really good.
Yeah. So the biggest thing for this podcast is you guys are so do it yourself, and your whole careers have really been, you guys have been, making your own, you haven't had any luck. You make your own luck. You put your own destiny forward. And that seemingly is paying off a lot this year with, you got shirts in Hot Topic now. Every Hot Topic in the company has Young Bucks Bullet Club shirts. How did that come about? Like, that is absolutely crazy, because on this podcast we're trying to get the casual fan into New Japan, and now it's like the casual fan will soon know New Japan as a casual fan.
Yeah, it feels like it's become way cooler. Like, not just New Japan Pro Wrestling, because that's really blown up, I think, since New Japan NJPW World took off, but like even the indies, man, like it just seems like every town we go to, we roll out with Ring of Honor. The crowds are bigger and they're louder. And even before we signed our contracts with Ring of Honor, we were doing the indie thing, like 3 to 4 shows a weekend, and every house was up. So it's like the last few years, really, it's like this weird. I think a few of the boys, we call it like the indie boom era, because it's like not only are the top indie guys like the ones over at WWE killing it right now, I mean, but it's everywhere. It's over at Impact. It's in Japan. It's like all these guys that were the top indie names are the ones running the wrestling world now. So it's kind of like an indie boom era. And basically, as an independent artist, like we're DIY, we're do-it-yourself guys. So I think that's why the DIY thing is paying off so much, is because, that's our background. That's our forte. That's all we know. Like all we know is peddling T-shirts and packing them in every weekend and standing out there and hustling and going from town to town. Like, I don't know why this year especially, it's like it's really, really taken off. 2017, man, it's been just humongous. The Hot Topic thing, God, it kind of came out of nowhere. It's like it kind of paid off because our T-shirts were just everywhere. And the story goes, I've heard 2 different versions. I've heard that the CEO or owner, a big-time player at Hot Topic, was at WrestleMania, and I've also heard 2 of the T-shirt buyers were from Hot Topic were at WrestleMania. Either way, some type of big execs from Hot Topic went to WrestleMania. They saw a ton of Young Bucks T-shirts. They saw Bullet Club. They saw Kenny Omega, and they asked around. They're like, why don't we have these shirts at our stores? Like we have the WWE shirts. Why don't we have these ones? And basically, they got in touch with Pro Wrestling Tees, Ryan over there, who does great work. And Ryan basically hit me up first and asked if we'd be interested. And I said immediately, yeah, dude, that's huge. Are you kidding me? So we struck a deal. And originally, it was just going to be us, Bullet Club's original like skull logo, and Kenny shirts. And I guess there was so much buzz around just that they decided, you know what, let's put Cody's shirt in here and let's get Marty's. And the first 4 or 5 days were so important because they just wanted to see how it would go, initially. And right off the bat, it was just something like they'd never seen. Like I talked to a couple of the buyers there, and they said that the buzz is just incredible, and the phones are just ringing off the hook. So within 5 days, they had already placed a new order, and they decided they're going to put us in basically every mall in America and Canada, any mall that has Hot Topic. So that was huge for us. And then the real big thing that I'm really, really excited about is the fact that we convinced Hot Topic to put out an Elite T-shirt, and that's just so cool for us because that's myself, Nick, and Kenny's like baby. Like that's something that we created on our own, and the fact that they're going to have a design in every store just really blows my mind. Like I kind of got the chills right now. Look at that. It's a really cool moment for me, man. Like that's actually coming mid-August. They're going to have that design in every store. So I'm really psyched.
So, like, I'm curious, how difficult is it to sort of get over, the Young Bucks and the Bullet Club as a national act without the WWE machine behind it? Like, how much do you attribute that to social media?
Oh my God, everything, man. It's so weird because it feels like finally people are finally getting it, like all the boys, because for so many years it was like nobody had it. Nobody had Twitter, nobody pushed their YouTubes, nobody. So I knew guys, like when we met Kenny didn't even have a Pro Wrestling Tees store or a Twitter account. We're like, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, get on it. Like he still doesn't have an Instagram. I'm like, that's the next thing I'm going to get on his case about, and now he's one of the best on social media, but it's funny how it's taken a lot of these other guys so much time to finally like push that stuff. Like, and then some of the guys use it the wrong way, in my opinion. Like it's a tool. Let's use it as a tool, I don't know exactly what the right way is because every character, every person is different, but you kind of got to figure that out. It's just like getting over in the ring. I think it's part of getting over now is your social media account. That's so important to your character and how people look at you, So
what's an example of doing it the wrong way?
The wrong way? I don't want to point out any names in particular. Honestly, if you're ever going to shoot out a tweet, this is what I usually think. I go, is this going to help me get more over, or is this going to piss people off? Is this going to be something that I regret in the future? Like, you just have to be really specific. Like, and you have to like ride that fine like line to be like being cool and edgy, but don't being someone that's going to like alienate too many people. Like, I don't know. It's just sometimes I'll go to someone like a wrestler buddy's account and I'll read through their tweets and like they're talking about stupid stuff that nobody wants to read about. Like, why are you getting into it about politics, man? Nobody in the world wants to know your view on politics. You're an entertainer. Talk about wrestling. Talk about fun stuff. Like, here's another thing, man. Like, being in the entertainment business, I get so many people that troll my account and send me negativity and all this stuff. So it's like I've come to this point now. This happened to me like 5 years ago. Where like if I watch a movie and I've hated the movie, I would never go, you know what? I have to find the actors in this movie and tag them and tell them how bad this movie was. Like, why do that? Like, why put any negativity out there? And chances are the actor's going to read it. It's going to make them feel really bad. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes I see people doing that, and it's just like, why put any negativity out? Promote your brand. Promote yourself. It's really just a tool to promote yourself, and just a lot of the guys still haven't figured that out. And another cool thing about social media is you can blur the lines. Like you can sort of give the people like a real life glimpse of what you're really like, but then blur it with something completely fake. And then at that point, people go, wait, who are these guys? And it makes you a little more interesting because they're like, wait a minute, was that real? Was that fake? It's just like pro wrestling, right? Like we're trying to get people to believe. So you can do it online also. There's a way to do it. I'm not going to tell everyone how to do it because then I'd be giving away one of my trade secrets. but yeah, man, as far as getting the Bullet Club over with social media, it was everything. Because at that time, all Bullet Club, all New Japan really was a bunch of hype, right? Because at that point, nobody really watched it. You couldn't really see it, right? You had to like really seek it out. Like I remember the only times I could ever watch anything, and I'll hate admitting this, was like I either had to go on Daily Motion or like I had to tape trade. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking tape. This is like 5-6 years ago. I had to do it with my buddies. Like, hey, what G1 match do you have? It was impossible to find. So like Daily Motion was big back then. I remember that. It's kind of gone away now, thank God, because it's not good for the business. But man, I remember watching a bunch of stuff on there, and it's so funny now looking back, because it's like now it's like everybody's watching the G1, everybody's watching New Japan. So it's really cool. But going back to the original question, I'm ranting here. Man, Bullet Club was just a bunch of hype. So what we did was we were the hype men behind it. Everything we did was hashtag Bullet Club. It was the Bullet Club's doing this. The Bullet Club's out partying. The Bullet Club's out with a sponsor. And we didn't listen to anybody. We never asked Gato what he wanted from us out there, what we can do. We just went out there and did whatever we thought was fun. And it clicked. Like we rode together on the bus every day to every town. We ate every meal together. So it's just one of those things. It's like we're all buddies naturally. So whatever we do out there, it's going to come across genuine because it was real. And we were just having the time of our lives, man. Like, I look back fondly at those first couple of years of Bullet Club, and it was seriously some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. It's like, I think people just started listening to the hype that we were creating online, and they started believing it. And it was like, it spread like wildfire. So like, social media was the key to everything.
It was huge. I think the original design of the shirt was also just so huge. People that don't even know what Bullet Club is, you saw bands wearing it on stage. I think Slash from Guns N' Roses wore a Bullet Club shirt on stage at one point, which was like crazy for me. I was like, what the fuck? Slash is a New Japan fan. That is unreal. But
it's like this hipster thing now, right? Like, you see all these people wearing it, and I feel like it felt like it was cooling off a little bit, like the whole Bullet Club logo thing, like that original shirt. People were like, "Oh, it's uncool," and then it got into Hot Topic, and it's like bigger than ever now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think that also has to do with something that you were talking about before. You said about how you guys blur the line on social media. Another way you blur the line is with Being the Elite, is your YouTube series. And it's kind of a look into your lives on the road, you and Nick and Kenny and Marty and Cody, everyone's on it at this point. But it also blurs the line, and you guys have been able to craft storylines, one of which that culminated with Marty Scurll joining the Bullet Club.
Yeah, man. It was funny because, like, we did our channel at first. It was just me, Nick, and Kenny. And really, we were on tour in Japan. We were bored, so we just filmed. I think it all started with little, like, vines, like the 6-second vines, and then we realized, God, it's really hard to do stuff in 6 seconds. So we took it to Twitter video, and at that time, I think you could only post 20-second videos. We'd have to tell a quick story in 20 seconds. Finally, we started filming these longer, like, stories, and they're becoming 4 or 5 minutes, and we were like, man, like, this is kind of cool. This is fun, Like, we were more into creating these little skits almost. It's like sketch comedy than what we were doing in the ring. Like, we were more excited about I have an idea for our next sketch, So it was something that we just kind of did out of boredom. And then one day Nick was like, man, I really think it'd be fun if I just started filming some of the stuff that we do on the road, some of the real stuff. Like, I think people find it interesting because we have a really interesting life. And at first, Kenny and I were like, yeah, like, there's already been a bunch of that. Let's just keep doing sketch comedy. So Nick's like, I'll do it. I'll film a few, and we'll see what we think. So it was all Nick's doing. Like, Nick named it Being the Elite, and we did a couple. And I realized from the feedback immediately, like, man, people like this. This is cool. Let's keep doing it. So we did it, and it got to the point where it was like, I told Nick, I said, this is getting a little redundant. Like, how many times can you show B-roll of you flying on an airplane and traveling and being backstage and stuff? I know people like it, but it's like, I feel like we need to do something else with this, like almost add like a little storyline or something, And at first we didn't know how we would do that, because at that point everything was completely a shoot. It was totally real. Sometimes we would goof off a little bit, but it was nothing crazy like our old sketch stuff. So what if we brought some of that old sketch comedy stuff that we used to do, some of those bits into the show? So yeah, let's try it out, just like anything else. We didn't know what people would think. So we did a few of them, and immediately I just noticed like that there was something there. Nick and Kenny said the same thing. We all were in agreement. Like, this is cool. So we decided, after we had a couple like ongoing little storylines, we would do a really like long story arc and just see where it would take us and how we'd pay off. And that ended up becoming the whole Adam Cole getting booted and Marty joining thing. And I feel like that, man, we put like 4 to 5 months of work into that. When that blew off and we did that, it felt so, like, I felt so proud. Like, man, we really did it, because it was something we talked about for weeks. Like, we're going to do it. It's coming. And when it blew off, and it blew off on an ROH pay-per-view, I think people really took notice. Like, these guys just used YouTube as their vehicle to have a storyline, and they blew it off on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Like, I don't think it's ever been done. So
yeah,
that was really a cool moment for us. And then now it's to the point where it's like, it's gotten so big. We'll put out an episode, and 24 hours later, we're already at, over 100,000 views. So we're like, man, this little fun thing that we started editing on our phone, it's become like a big thing where it's like, we got Flip Gordon on the show and he's getting over from it. And Cody got this FTR thing massively over. Like, it's probably the biggest thing that's come out of our show, to be honest. Like, it's just incredible, man. It's become a way for us to like nurture our characters and to get ourselves even more over. I'll tell you this, dude, like, every time I'm doing a meet and greet, 8 out of 10 people come up to Nick and I and they say, "I love your show on YouTube." It's not I love your matches in New Japan, or I love your PWG or Ring of Honor work. Like, it's just, I love your stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, I told Nick, I'm like, man, we've become YouTube stars and we're kind of like wrestlers second, you know? So it's good. It's good because I feel like people, that was the one thing missing, I think, with Nick and I and Kenny. Like, everybody's always known, oh, these guys can go in the ring. They're great wrestlers. But now they like us on a personal level because they know what we go through. They know our families. They know basically how we got there, what it took to get to the show. Instead of just seeing us appear from the curtain now in wrestling, like, they know all the hell that we went through to get to the curtain. You know what I mean? So I think it's really gotten us over on a whole different level. And now it's this big animal, this big monster. Like, we have to do this thing every week now. And it's actually it'll be back on Sunday. I say that, and we have zero content filmed yet, but I know I'm very confident that we'll get something together and filmed this weekend at Ring of Honor. We're in Concord, North Carolina, with the whole crew, the whole Being the Elite cast. So I'm sure we'll put together something cool.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious, you know, as other wrestlers move on to other promotions, but they still sort of rep the Bullet Club. So, like, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, like, the brotherhood of the Bullet Club and how wrestlers, you know, move on to different promotions but still sort of acknowledge their affiliation.
Sure, man. I think it's so cool. I think it's cool that the companies respectfully let them, because I feel like it would be insulting to the fans if they didn't let them, because Bullet Club has become so massive now, so big, that it can't be ignored, you know? Like, people would be like, well, why isn't AJ throwing up Too Sweet? That's weird. You know what I mean? Because everybody still thinks of him as a Bullet Club guy. And same with Finn, you know? It's like, and the club, like, we're all boys still. We're, you know, and if we went to WWE tomorrow, we'd probably be throwing it up too, and we would all be affiliated somehow. Like, even though none of those guys are together right now, like, storyline-wise, everybody has this weird understanding that they are together, though. You know what I mean? Like, they're friends. Like, it's this bond that not even the biggest wrestling companies in the world can ignore. And I love that the Bullet Club's gotten that big that you can't ignore it. Like, God, that, like, when has that ever happened in wrestling? You know what I mean? Like, it's transcended different wrestling companies now. So I find it really cool that they still do it, because it's almost become like this weird this Too Sweet culture, and some people hate it. Like, they're like the hipster of hipster fans. Oh, the Too Sweet, I hate that. I hate the one Too Sweet. Like, people blame Nick and I for that, by the way. I didn't tell the fans to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's how big this has become now, though. Like, it's all over the show. It's everywhere. It's a culture. So I think it's cool that they still do it, man. And I think there'll come a point where maybe, like, Nick and I will have to move on from it, or maybe even those guys will have to move on from it, because just like anything else in pro wrestling, you have to reinvent yourself. But right now, man, it is super cool. People still love it. So why try to stop something like when you're still in the middle of a white hot run, you know?
Absolutely. Right. You guys are, like, obviously you're best known, if there was one wrestling move to be associated with you guys, it would be the super kick. You guys have, you know, released countless T-shirts, and your gear says super kick all over it. And this year you're kind of changing it up in the sense that you've added the sharpshooter to your moveset, and it seems like you're making the sharpshooter almost your new super kick, where it's like constantly in matches screaming for sharpshooters, like, we're the master of the sharpshooter. Like, where did that idea come from, and what is the fascination with the sharpshooter this year?
Honestly, we were booked against Roppongi Vice again, and these New Japan junior tag matches just become so redundant. It's like, to the point now where Nick and I are like, I can't even remember some of the matches I've had, because I've wrestled Roppongi Vice so many times. I've wrestled these guys so many times. Like, so we're like, what can we do that's so different this time? Like, we've done everything with these guys. Like, what's left, you know? And I think Nick was the one who came up with the idea of doing some type of injury angle on Trent. And I don't remember who it was, but one of us said, let's injure his back, you know? And from that one idea of let's injure his back, we came up, this was weeks before the match too, by the way, we came up with pretty much the entire match, where the sharpshooter naturally, it's just like the same thing with Shawn. I love the super kick because Shawn Michaels. Well, I love the sharpshooter because I love Bret Hart. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a 90s wrestling kid. Those are my boys. So, like if I have to go for a back injury right away, sharpshooter. And I told Nick, how cool would it be if we did like a tandem sharpshooter as a finish? Because I don't think that's ever been done. Like we could spice it up a little bit,
Yeah.
So basically, we built that one match around the sharpshooter, the one in Japan. I can't remember what was it, Dominion? I want to say where we recaptured the belts.
Yep, it was Dominion.
Might have been. Yeah. Okay. So basically, it was just that one match, and this is what we said right before the match. We said, this is such a different style match for us. This can either go really, really wrong, or it can go really, really right. And Nick and I are at the point in our careers where we don't really care, man. Like, we just like if we want to take a big gamble or a big risk, let's just go for it. Like, what do we have to lose at this point? Like, I think people feel like we've done good enough now that they would forgive us if we had one really bad match. So let's just go for it. Let's risk it all, and let's do a different style of Young Bucks match. And that match was totally different than what people are used to from us. But man, people really dug it. The crowd really in Japan, they dug it. They were sympathetic towards Trent and Rocky the entire match. And when we got to the back, we were so proud. So we just did something new. Like this, let's go with this, And we knew we were wrestling them in Long Beach a few weeks later. And I was like, man, that sharpshooter got so over. I think we have to build the match around that again, And again, it worked. And to the point where I told Nick, I think we've got a new finisher, or at least a new option. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be some towns where like they're not smart enough yet. They probably hadn't seen those two matches yet where we did the sharpshooter. But let's start, putting it into our moveset, and let's start introducing it to them, just like we had to teach everybody about the super kick, So I think it's good too. One thing Nick and I always talk about is, man, we have to preserve our bodies. And if you look back at footage of us from 10 years ago, I used to do a lot more flips off the top rope. Nick still does a lot of crazy stuff, but even back then he was even crazier. So like we're trying to like find our groove and find a style that fits us, where we don't have to kill ourselves every night. And a sharpshooter, that's adding years to your career, because that's not going to hurt anybody. So, and again, I went back to earlier about reinventing yourself and stuff. It's like, it's good to have another tool in the toolbox. You can go to every so often. So now we can go for super kicks, we can go for the Meltzer driver, and we can go for the sharpshooter, and more bang for your buck. Like we have tons of finishers we can go for now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess like you guys have been all over the place, obviously, New Japan, Ring of Honor, TNA, PWG. I'm sort of curious where you guys learned the most and who was the most instrumental in that.
Man, that's a good question. God, I don't know. It's like we're journeymen, right? So it's like everywhere you go, you kind of take a piece from where you were and where you spent time. And I remember learning a lot our initial run at Dragon Gate. I think like that's the first thing that pops up to my mind right away is Dragon Gate, because it was such this weird like hybrid style of lucha libre with Japanese, fighting spirit style, strong style wrestling, and American style wrestling. It was like this weird hybrid that I really enjoyed, because there's these young athletic guys going so fast and doing things that nobody else can do. And I remember going there and wrestling the first match and thinking, oh my God, I have 5 weeks of this. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to keep up with these guys. And at that point, this is 2008. I'm way younger. And Nick and I are looked at on every show as we're the fastest guys. Nobody can keep up with us. And here I go to Japan and I'm totally culture shocked, and I'm trying to keep up with these guys. So I remember just like watching the matches and studying, and Nick and I would come out and second a lot of the matches and just watching how they do this and how they do that. And I remember watching Seema out there, and he was one of the best at like getting the crowd involved. So I've taken a lot from that. So like in my early years, most impressionable, I think about my Dragon Gate days, and we use a lot of that stuff to this day. So I got to give a lot of credit to him, or Seema particularly, because he kind of like took us under his wing when we were out there too. Doi and Yoshino also, probably one of my favorite tag teams of all time. So good. A lot of the stuff we do today is actually a tribute to them. We do that one spot where I hang the guy from the rope, and Nick does the swanton or whatever. That's taken right out of their playbook, and we've actually talked to Doi about that. And I think he was cool with it, but learned a lot from those guys. Learned a lot from Kevin Owens. We spent so much time with him on the Indies for so many years, And I learned, like, Kevin could take a situation, an absolutely cold match, a heatless moment, and make something out of nothing. And I remember watching him do that all the time. Like, how does he create an environment like that? And Kevin was the best at it. Like I remember watching him, and he would just be in someone's face, and he would say something really witty, or scream at the guy's face, or spit at him, or do something. Like, he was really good at getting something out of his opponents too. Like, someone that maybe wasn't like as quick-witted, he would try to, like, basically pull it out of you. You know what I mean? Like, and he did that with me at first, because I remember I was really shy back then. And Kevin would do these things to me, but he would tell me, give it back to me, man. Give it back to me, you know? And I remember learning from him, like, okay, I'll try to keep up with this guy. Like, don't be intimidated. And Kevin brought a lot of that out to me now. I get right in people's faces, you know what I mean? And I say things, and I'm unafraid. And I think that's a lot of the Kevin in me. The other day I did a spot with Bully Ray at Ring of Honor, where, like, I got right in his face. I challenged him to chop me like I'm a psychopath. Like, the old me would have never done that. But that was like the Kevin in me. Sami Zayn's another guy that I learned a lot from, just the psychology, the way he called matches. We had so many matches with him, the ups and downs and the roller coaster of a match. Like, a lot of the emotion that he would do as El Generico, like, God, the stuff he did with his hands, like, he was so cartoony, but it worked so well. Kenny Omega is another guy Nick and I've known for a decade, and he's just so larger than life, and makes everything big and count. And AJ Styles, watching ringside all the big matches he had at New Japan, and getting to team with him for 2 years basically. We were like a trio, and people forget now, you know, like, before the Elite, it was me, Nick, and AJ, you know, and every night we were doing 6-man. So learning a lot from the way that it was funny, because AJ was more of like an in-ring performer, right? Like, in the back, he was kind of like, Bucks, call it and let me know what I'm doing out there. You know what I mean? And then we would go out there, and then AJ was on another level. And then if I got to give the most credit to anybody before I even forget, it's got to be the Hardy Boys. The guys are just on another level as in terms of how to engage a crowd. Like, I don't know if it's the years and years and years of just wrestling and performing in front of live audiences, like at the house show loops that they did for so many years in WWE. But man, they're so good at getting people to care or respond for absolutely anything. And when I talk about being rock star over, I've never ever heard a reaction that I did, like, I was in the ring in Santiago, Chile, and the Hardys came out, and it was like Elvis Presley came back from the dead. It was just absurd. Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian are two other guys that to this day I learned so much from. They're our road dads, basically. We travel with them everywhere on the road for Ring of Honor, and just picking their brains and listening to them, and they're just a real throwback tag team. Like, they know tag team psychology, you know?
Yeah.
But that's just the guys that come off the top of my head. Tommy Dreamer's another one. We were down in TNA, and we had a terrible run. I still learned a lot from Tommy, because he was there for a lot of that run, and he would pull us aside and teach us a lot of cool things. He's another one of our wrestling dads. Like, whenever I have a problem or a question, I usually go to Tommy.
Tommy's great. I sat front row ringside at TLC 2015, and he was in the company just for, like, that match, and he set up a table right in front of me, and he was like, "Be careful, kid. I don't even work here." That was the table that, like, Luke Harper went through a table, like, right in front of my face. He was like, I don't even work here. I can't be held responsible for this.
That is such a Tommy thing to say. I love it. He's the best, dude. We just spent some time with him in Australia, and on the House of Hardcore tour, and God, I had the time of my life just hanging out with him. And he's got a story. We're in the middle of a Q&A in the ring, and he's just pulling Nick and I aside and telling us stories, like, while the other guys were, like, answering questions. We're like, "Hey, Tommy, we should probably pay attention, man. They may be asking us something in a second. Never mind that." And he's just talking to us. He's such a chill dude, man. One of my favorite people in the business.
So, Nick, I got to tell you, Matt, sorry. Whoa, that was bad of me.
It's okay. My parents do it this day.
I've designed a lot of gear, a lot of T-shirts, and people will always ask me, "What's your favorite you've ever done?" And the wrestling fans always are like, "Oh, of course," when I answer, and the non-wrestling fans are like, "Really? That one's kind of ugly." And my answer is, It's a two-parter. It's the tights with your faces looped over and over again, and with Dave
Right.
Meltzer's face looped over and over again. And like whenever I answer that, a wrestling fan's like, "Oh, of course, that those are hysterical." I
Right.
saw so and so
They
wearing
get
a
it.
shirt, and then the non-wrestling fans are like, "You've designed like some cool stuff, though. Why do you
Right.
like this?" And
Right.
I don't know if I ever told
That's
you the
so
story
funny.
behind it, but I was in Brooklyn one day. I think it was like for some WWE event at the Barclays Center, and I saw someone wearing a shirt with Nicolas Cage's face just over and over
Right.
and over again. And I was like,
Yes.
that is legitimately the ugliest shirt I have ever seen in my life. So naturally, I, hit you up right away. I was like, hey, I got an
That's
idea
right.
for some tights.
Yeah, you were the genius behind the whole thing. And I bet the person that designed the Nicolas Cage collage shirt is probably really proud and thinks it's the
Oh, yeah.
coolest shirt ever.
Oh, yeah.
No, I remember you hit me up with the idea, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I think my response was "genius." Period. Let's do it. Like, and to this day, I think even this morning I got someone on Twitter saying, "When are you going to do the faces as a pair of leggings?" Because every set of tights we do now, we get women's leggings made, and it's like, I'm like, I don't know if that would really sell though. But I get so many people asking me now. It's like it's undeniable. Like I got to talk to my wife about it. She actually runs the whole Young Bucks merch thing from our house actually, and I'm gonna have to get on her case about ordering a couple hundred of them or something, try it out. But that's been my most requested thing, and it was funny because we took a poll like which tights would you want, and then the faces came in like second place. I'm like, what? You wear that?
The craziest thing is I saw so many at WrestleMania this year. The titles one too. The titles one isn't necessarily as ugly as the other two and obnoxious because it is just it's the Ring of Honor title, the PWG title, and the and the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag title.
Anything redundant like that, where it's like all over print, it's just so obnoxious.
It's
You know what I mean?
so obnoxious, and that's always my answer. And it's like the most. You really have to be a wrestling fan and kind of a Young Bucks fan to get it. But I feel like the people that do get it, people will hit me up and they're like, "Wait, you the guy that did that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's right, that's me."
I'm sure that's the biggest response you've ever gotten for anything you've ever created. Right?
Oh, by far, by a million miles, yeah.
I mean, same here. As far as any gear we've ever put out, our faces was probably big. Dave's was really big too.
Dave's was big.
Though, I think it was the first one, and it just caught everybody off guard. I remember when we put them on for the first time because we kept it a secret from the whole locker room. And we were like, we were specifically that day saying, let's not get dressed up until it's time to go out, just to see what happens. You know what I mean? So I remember we were like about to go out. I think we were in like somewhere in Texas, and Nick and I pull up our tights, and we stand up, and the whole locker room looks at us, like, and everyone just starts laughing. Kenny King comes up to me, and he's like, he can't even speak. He's like, you guys are the Kings. You've done it. And we go out there, and the same thing. We walk out through the curtain, and I could just hear the fans gasping, and this is such a Young Buck thing to do. But the Dave Meltzer one was also good. And for people who don't know, there's a hidden Jim Cornette face in there that you actually put in there.
Yep,
So,
I threw one Jim Cornette face in.
Yeah, not a lot of people have caught that. A few people have. It's crazy. Like someone sent me like a zoom in shot of it. Like, oh my god, I found the Cornette face. I'm like, how did you even know there was a Cornette face in there?
Yeah.
We'll have to come up with another concept for you to do for us. I'm sure we'll.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been not doing as many, but the brain's been cooking. There's a WrestleMania 12 inspired gear that I'm starting to think about.
Okay.
So I got two final questions for you. One is the final question I'll ask is something we ask all of our guests. This question's a little weird, but I'm very good friends with Cody Rhodes, who is now a member of the Bullet Club. I've known you for a few years now. I've designed a bunch of gear. I designed the Farewell AJ Bullet Club shirt.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Would you say I am to the Bullet Club what Dennis Rodman was to the NWO in a weird way?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, you guys heard it here first. I am an honorary member of the Bullet Club. Update the Wikipedia.
I thought of the Dennis Rodman wasn't the first person that came to mind, but I guess that makes sense now that I'm thinking about it.
Usually when I think about me, I think Dennis Rodman.
I used to have, speaking of Dennis Rodman, I used to have that NWO shirt. It was literally a photo of Dennis Rodman wearing an NWO shirt, but his hair changed colors. I don't know how they did it back then.
It was like the Back to the Future hat.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, I want to know. I want to do this, right? Like, I want to have gear that changes or something. If someone has that type of like information for me, please give it to me, because I will go to that whoever made that Dennis Rodman shirt and make thousands of the Young Bucks T-shirts.
I feel like I looked into like a hologram fabric because I wanted to put the GIF of you guys doing a melter driver on tights and have it like move as you guys move. I thought that would have been cool.
I've come up. I've looked around, and not hard enough. I'm sure you can do it. The technology's out there.
Yeah. So, final question before we let you go. We ask every single guest this. Can you give our listeners an obscure match recommendation? You can be in the match. You can not be in the match. Just a match where our listeners, you're probably saying, like, you might not have seen this, or maybe you saw it and everyone kind of glanced over it.
God. Okay. Man, this match, I think it's actually on YouTube. I'll have to find the link and I'll have to give it to you. It's one of our first matches where we actually trained under this Lucha Libre company called Revolution Pro, and they had I think it was like I want to say it was like a Halloween show. I don't know, but we all dressed up in these weird costumes. I was Fluffy the dog with a tail, and I had like full on bodysuit where I had fur and everything. And Nick is the referee, but he's wearing an El Santo mask. And during the match, there's a dive sequence where El Santo, the ref, goes from the top rope and does like a 720 dive onto the whole pile. I do a bunch of like weird dog things in the match, but I hit a couple of familiar moves that you would probably see. It's a multi-man. God, I'll have to find the link. I think the show is called like Rev Pro The End, or man, I don't know. Someone's going to be listening to this. They're going to know.
Yeah.
But I was Fluffy the dog, and I'm sure it is online. If not, I think I have the footage, or I have a buddy that has the footage. I'll have them upload it. This is entertaining as hell. It's probably pretty terrible if I watch it now, but man, at the time I thought I was like a badass dog.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, our last guest was the match recommended was Heidenreich versus Doink the Clown in the Golden Corral parking lot.
I saw that match.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So
you know who I think showed me that? I think Jay Lethal showed me that match. Like, he's like, you have to see this match.
Apparently, this match is very popular among like really great wrestlers. Like Pat Buck was the guest on the show last week, and he said it was Wade Barrett and Ryback's favorite match of all time.
It's hysterical. I think we watched it with like at least 15, 20 guys, and we were all just crying.
Yeah, it's great. So we want to thank you for coming on the show. You could check out all of the Young Bucks merchandise at youngbucksmerch.com, and you can go into Hot Topic if they're not sold out of everything. That Elite shirt is hitting their shelves in August. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man.
All right, so I want to thank Matt of the Young Bucks for coming on with us today. I thought that interview, even if you're not a fan of New Japan or Ring of Honor, that there was a lot of entertaining stories in it. And he was a guy, like, that's like a self-made guy right there. Like that's the example that you want to set if you're an indie wrestler and you think that, you haven't made it until you make it in the WWE. That's not true. I mean,
we didn't talk about it. They've turned down WWE because they're doing too well right now. And they know,
right.
They're like, we literally will make way more money doing us than doing you. So that's an inspiration, not even if you're just an indie wrestler. That's like in life. Their do-it-yourself mentality I would be inspired by. Do you want to congratulate me, Jared?
Yes, I would like to congratulate you on the gear that you've helped make for them, and also being an honorary part of the club.
Yeah, there you go.
The Bullet Club.
I am in the Bullet Club.
You are the Dennis Rodman of the Bullet Club officially, which is
officially
that's good.
a member of the Bullet Club. It's nice. We're gonna have someone on the inside now. What other wrestling podcast has a host in the Bullet Club?
I would say no wrestling podcast.
I would say no wrestling podcast.
What are the odds that you are now going to add that to your Twitter bio? Because a lot of street cred in being in the Bullet Club.
I probably will add it to my Twitter bio. You know, we're gonna need one of our grapple fucks to update the Wikipedia page for Bullet Club where it says members. You have to write
Yep.
Robbie Fox, and if there's a description tag, just be like honorary member,
Mm-hmm.
parentheses, the Dennis Rodman of the Bullet Club.
Right. So, what about? Do you have a LinkedIn page?
Yeah, I do. That should be in my LinkedIn.
Okay.
That'll be in the LinkedIn
Yeah,
for sure.
But so the concern that I have is that I bet that the Bullet Club is probably not something that's already built into the back end of LinkedIn. So you might have to create the Bullet Club and then add it to your LinkedIn.
That would suck. That would be too much effort for me. But you know
But
what?
then you could also
it's
say
for
that
the
you're
love
the
of the club.
first person on LinkedIn to have the Bullet Club on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, true. All right. That's it for us. We'll be back next Wednesday. You got to rate, you got to review, you got to subscribe. I'm not going to repeat myself. You know it all. You're the grapple fucks. You rule.
Yeah, they know. They know.
Too sweet me.
Which that is catching on, by the way.
It is.